Hi there and welcome to the Sleepy Narrator, a relaxing nook for inquisitive minds, where bedtime isn't the close of the day, but the beginning of a calming exploration through the marvels of science. Tonight, we're diving into something that's been with you since the moment you were born, something so constant, you might have never paused to really consider it. We're embarking on a journey into the orchestra of your sensations. That quiet, yet brilliant symphony your body plays to make sense of the world around it. From the way light filters through your eyes to the distant hum reaching your ears. From the texture of your blanket to the pace of your breath, you are surrounded by perception. But what exactly are senses? Is it really just the well-known five: vision, hearing, smell, taste, and touch? Or is there far more to your sensory experience than what your eyes, ears, or nose might suggest? Before we venture too far into the science, I'd be truly grateful if you'd hit the like button and consider subscribing. It means a lot and allows me to continue making these peaceful, curious journeys for thoughtful minds like yours. And if you'd like, share in the comments where in the world you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. I'm always amazed at how many different time zones gather here together. Now, I do hope this video won't be so fascinating that it keeps you wide awake. But if it does, well, at least you'll be gaining knowledge while lying there, wide-eyed, wondering about your inner ear. So let's get settled. Make yourself cozy. Maybe inhale deeply once or twice. Let the day melt around you. And we'll begin our tale of the senses, the orchestra of how you experience the world and how it experiences you in return. Let's start with a story you probably already heard, sort of. Picture a brightly lit classroom, perhaps with the faint scent of dry erase markers and the soft squeak of plastic chairs. That might be where you were first told that people have five senses: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. And that's it. Nice, simple, easy to remember. The kind of concept that fits nicely on a classroom poster, complete with cartoon eyes, ears, and noses pointing in labeled directions. But here's the twist. That list is far from complete. The so-called Big Five aren't incorrect, but they're just scratching the surface. Or to put it another way, they're just the opening chords in a much grander composition. The five senses idea can be traced all the way back to Aristotle, the famously curious philosopher from ancient Greece. He tried to categorize everything around him into neat little boxes. He looked at the ways people seemed to gather information and concluded, there are five of them. Done. But the human body didn't quite follow his filing system. It built a variety of sensory mechanisms, some obvious, others wonderfully obscure. You are, in truth, a sensory powerhouse. You just might not have noticed. Let's take a deeper look. We'll begin with something the Greek scrolls didn't mention at all: balance. Even with your eyes shut, if you spin around and stop, your mind can usually tell which direction is up. Unless you're on a roller coaster, then it politely checks out for a while and files a formal complaint. That's your vestibular system at play. An elegant structure made of tiny canals and crystals tucked inside your inner ear that constantly monitor how your body is positioned in space. It helps you stay upright, walk a straight path, and avoid toppling over every time you reach for something. Then we have proprioception, possibly the least celebrated of all senses. It's your internal awareness of your own body. Thanks to proprioception, you can rub your eye in the dark without missing or type without watching your hands. It's how your brain knows where your limbs are, even when you're not watching them. There's also nociception, a technical term for your sense of pain, but it's more than just ouch. It's a sophisticated warning system that alerts you when something is sharp, burning, or just off. Pain often gets a bad reputation, but without it, you wouldn't know when something is pressing too hard, too hot, or otherwise harmful. Temperature, that's thermoception. Your skin is full of tiny heat and cold sensitive nerve endings that measure temperature, not only on your skin's surface, but internally as well. That's why you know when you're too warm under the covers or need to find another pair of socks. And while we're on the topic of internal awareness, let's not skip over interoception, the quiet sense of what's happening inside your body. Hunger, thirst, A full bladder, the gentle beat of your heart, or that nervous flutter in your stomach before something big. These may be subtle, but they steer your choices all day long. Feeling like your body has more going on than just the classic five. That's because it does. Modern researchers identify at least 15 to 20 different senses depending on how they count. Some even suggest more, like our perception of time, which certainly doesn't feel fixed when you're lying awake or waiting in line. And while humans may not have sonar or the ability to detect magnetic fields like some animals do, there's emerging evidence that we might have faint traces of those too. So why do we still teach the Big Five? Because it's a tidy place to start. It's approachable, easy to explain, and the traditional five are certainly vital, but they're not the whole story. What's truly extraordinary is this. All of your senses, both well-known and lesser-known, operate together to create the way you perceive reality. They overlap, combine, and support each other constantly. Your sense of smell enhances your taste. Your sight helps guide your balance. Touch and proprioception work together to let you move with fluidity, well, or at least moderate coordination. And your brain, it doesn't compartmentalize these signals in isolation. It treats them like a full orchestra, blending, syncing, and harmonizing to create a seamless experience. What you see, hear, and feel isn't just raw data. It's a complex, curated composition. There's even a name for this blending: multisensory integration. Your brain receives inputs from multiple senses and weaves them into one coherent reality. That's why a chip seems crisp only if you can also hear the crunch. Or why seeing someone stub their toe can make you physically cringe. Your senses don't function in isolation. They're team players, even when you're not consciously aware. So next time you take a moment to absorb your surroundings, the dim light from a nearby lamp, the softness of your sheets, the quiet sounds of night, remember, it's not just five senses composing that moment. It's a complete symphony, and you're seated right at the center of it. Of all the senses, sight tends to take center stage, quite literally. It's the one most people say they'd least want to live without, and it's not hard to understand why. The world is covered in color and light, in movement and contrast, in subtle visual details that piece together our everyday moments. But vision isn't only about observing, it's about processing light. And your brain performs some astonishing behind-the-scenes work to make that happen. Let's begin with how it all works. Light travels in waves, tiny packets of energy zipping through space at speeds that make race cars look slow. Some of that light bounces off everything around you: your pet, your mug, that growing pile of laundry you've been pretending not to see. Some of those rays make their way into your eyes, and that's when things really start to get impressive. Your eyes, as complex and beautiful as they are, don't actually see anything. They're biological detectors, something like super advanced organic cameras. Light enters through the cornea, then travels through the pupil, which changes size depending on brightness, and moves into the lens, which adjusts the focus like a self-tuning magnifying glass. Finally, it hits the retina, a thin sheet of tissue at the back of the eye filled with photoreceptors. Think of the retina like a screen at the back of a theater, except it's wired straight into your nervous system. And now we meet the stars of the visual show: rods and cones. Rods are your low-light experts. They're sensitive in dim environments but don't handle color. They're the reason you can stumble to the fridge at night without turning on a light, though whether you manage to avoid the cat is a different story. Cones, on the other hand, love brightness and detail. They come in three varieties, each tuned to detect red, green, or blue light. Working together, they allow you to perceive millions of color combinations. That deep orange glow during sunset. It's your cones blending red and green into a warm gradient that poets dream about. Here's something fascinating. Birds have 4 types of cones. That means they can see ultraviolet light, a whole range of colors beyond what humans can perceive. So if you ever see a pigeon tilting its head like it knows something you don't, it probably does. Once light hits your rods and cones, It's turned into electrical signals that travel through the optic nerve and into the brain. But what your brain receives isn't a crystal-clear photograph. It's more like a messy burst of information that needs to be cleaned up and interpreted on the fly. That's where your visual cortex comes in. It's the part of your brain responsible for handling visual data. Think of it like the backstage crew in a theater, setting props, adjusting lights, and changing scenery for every single moment you're awake. It detects edges, forms shapes, distinguishes movement, and stabilizes your view so you're not disoriented with every head turn. Now, here's something that might twist your mind a bit. The image that hits your retina is actually upside down. Your brain flips it the right way automatically. Walking on ceilings would be highly inconvenient after all, and it doesn't stop there. There's a part of your eye where the optic nerve exits the retina, and in that spot there are no photoreceptors. That means each of your eyes has a blind spot, but unless you deliberately go searching for it, you'd never notice. Your brain simply fills in the blank, like a quiet visual assistant airbrushing your experience in real time. This visual editing gets even more curious with optical illusions. You've probably seen those drawings where one line looks longer than another, even though they're the same, or where colors seem to change depending on what's around them. These aren't flaws in your vision. They're proof that your brain is an interpreter, not just a receiver. And sometimes that interpreter gets a bit creative. Then there's change blindness, a phenomenon where major visual differences can occur right in front of someone and they won't even notice. Magicians use this all the time. Your brain filters out unnecessary visual noise to avoid overload. But that also means it can miss some very obvious things. Your brain commits a massive amount of resources to vision. Some estimates suggest around 30 to 50% of your brain's cortex is involved in processing visual information in some capacity. That's like your brain running a full-time movie theater just to keep you updated on your surroundings. Still, sight isn't indestructible. Some people are born without it. Others lose it through illness or injury. And what the brain does next is nothing short of remarkable, thanks to neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to reassign tasks when needed. When visual input disappears, the brain doesn't just sit idly. It reallocates resources. People who are blind often develop stronger senses of hearing, touch, or memory. That's because the brain begins using areas once dedicated to vision to help with other sensory tasks. It's flexible, resilient, and always adapting. And for those who do have sight, it's a gentle reminder. You don't see with your eyes. You see with your brain. The eyes are simply the gateway. The brain is the master craftsman, turning photons into perception, color, and meaning. So the next time you wake up and open your eyes to see a softly lit sky, or the way morning light stretches across your room, remember, it's not just your vision doing the work. It's your brain, painting with light, turning chaos into clarity. And even if your eyes are closed, the images remain. Not as raw data, but as memories, colors, and feelings. All born from the light your body once captured, and shaped by the extraordinary system within you. If vision is the art of decoding light, then hearing is the craft of catching invisible ripples. Sound is motion, vibrations moving through the air like a whisper passed from molecule to molecule. And your ears are marvelously designed to catch those waves and turn them into something meaningful. Let's lean in and understand how this auditory magic takes place. Sound begins with movement. Anything, starts to shake. That vibration disturbs the air around it, pushing particles outward in waves, like tossing a stone into a pond. When those invisible ripples reach your ears, your body jumps into action. The outer ear, the visible part, the one that helps hold your glasses, acts like a natural funnel. It's shaped to catch sound waves and direct them down the ear canal, where they eventually strike the eardrum. This delicate membrane vibrates in response, turning sound into mechanical motion. And now, the smallest percussion group in the human body gets involved. 3 tiny bones called the malleus, incus, and stapes, better known as the hammer, anvil, and stirrup. These bones are smaller than a grain of rice, but they're incredibly important. Their job, to amplify the vibrations and send them deeper into the inner ear. Next stop, the cochlea. Picture a snail shell filled with fluid and lined with thousands of microscopic hair cells. These aren't the kind of hairs you'd find on your head. They're ultra-sensitive receptors that sway when the fluid inside the cochlea shifts. Each one of these hair cells is tuned to a different pitch. Low-frequency sounds vibrate the wider end of the cochlea, while high-pitched sounds tickle the narrow tip. This structure lets you distinguish the boom of thunder from the chirp of a bird, or the crunch of toast from the ping of your phone. As these hair cells bend, they generate electrical impulses that travel along the auditory nerve to your brain, where the real magic of sound begins. Because, like vision, your brain doesn't receive sound directly. It receives coded messages, patterns of electrical activity. It's your brain's responsibility to interpret those patterns as a voice, music, wind, or laughter. Take, for example, your ability to locate where a sound is coming from, even with your eyes closed. Your brain does this by comparing minuscule differences in timing and volume between your two ears. If someone calls your name from the left, your left ear hears it slightly before your right. That tiny delay is all your brain needs to triangulate the source. It's a built-in GPS, one that's quietly calculating every time you hear something new. There's also something called the cocktail party effect, your ability to focus on one voice among many in a crowded environment. Your brain tunes into the voice you're trying to hear and lowers the volume on everything else. Unless, of course, someone in another conversation says your name. Suddenly, your attention shifts. Your brain has been monitoring everything, even the parts you weren't aware of. Then there's the curiosity of earworms, catchy tunes that loop endlessly in your mind, refusing to leave. Scientists believe these are caused by involuntary memory activation, your brain replaying familiar patterns even when no sound is present. Some people also experience misophonia, where certain sounds cause strong emotional responses, chewing, clicking pens, or a repetitive ringtone. The exact cause isn't fully understood, but it shows that sound isn't processed only by your hearing center. It's also linked to emotion and memory. Hearing can be profoundly emotional. A song can bring you to tears. The voice of someone you love can calm you instantly. This is because your brain doesn't just register sound, it feels it. Long before humans could write, they sang, hummed, shouted, and whispered. They told stories by firelight called warnings across forests, comforted one another with lullabies. Your brain is wired to understand tone, rhythm, and inflection. It hears not just what is said, but how it's said. But like all senses, hearing is fragile. Exposure to loud noise, especially over time, can damage those sensitive hair cells in the cochlea. And unlike the hair on your head, these don't grow back. This is why hearing loss is common as people age or after being exposed to loud environments for too long. But science has stepped in with astonishing solutions. Hearing aids help amplify sound, while cochlear implants bypass damaged parts of the ear entirely, sending signals straight to the auditory nerve. The brain, as always, adapts, learning to interpret these new signals as sound. And for people who are deaf or hard of hearing, sound isn't the only way to experience the world. Communication flourishes through visual language, vibration, touch, and facial expression. The human experience is beautifully diverse, and hearing is just one of many threads in the web of perception. So next time you hear your favorite song, the tapping of rain on your window, or even the creaks of your home settling in for the night, take a moment to listen. Truly listen. Because your ears are instruments, your brain the conductor, and together they play the delicate music of motion that shapes your reality. Take a deep breath, not only because it's relaxing, which it is, but because in doing so, you're drawing in tiny airborne signals from the world around you. Molecules suspended in the air, floating past you, carrying with them subtle clues, memories, warnings, and comforts. the aroma of fresh rain on dry ground, the smell of bread baking nearby, a faint trace of someone's shampoo in the breeze, or that suspicious sourness coming from something long forgotten in the fridge. These scents are instantly recognizable. Smell is immediate, emotional, and perhaps the most ancient sense you possess. Let's look at the biology first. High inside your nose, tucked behind the bridge, is a small area of tissue called the olfactory epithelium. It's about the size of a small stamp, yet it contains around 400 different types of smell receptors. Each one is designed to recognize a different kind of odor molecule. When you breathe in, those molecules travel into your nasal cavity and bind to receptors, like matching keys to invisible locks. This sets off a signal that travels along your olfactory nerve straight to your brain. But here's what makes this process special. Smell skips the usual routing system. Most sensory data gets relayed through the thalamus, the brain's central hub for sorting and forwarding sensory information. But not smell. Smell takes a private shortcut straight to the olfactory bulb, which sits next to the limbic system, the part of your brain responsible for emotions and memories. That's why one sniff of something familiar can transport you through time. The scent of warm grass might pull you back to summer as a child. A whiff of cinnamon could remind you of holidays, a grandparent's kitchen, or that time you accidentally mixed it up with chili powder. These experiences aren't just nostalgia, they're neurological events. Smell and memory are close neighbors in the brain, sharing space, function, and deep emotional ties. Now, humans aren't particularly known for their sense of smell, not compared to dogs, anyway, which can have as many as 300 million olfactory receptors. But we're not as weak-nosed as we think. Studies suggest that humans can distinguish more than 1 trillion different smells. Yes, 1 trillion. Your nose may not be great at tracking wildlife, but it knows exactly when your leftovers have gone rogue. Interestingly, smell is not fixed. It changes depending on context. Things smell different when you're hungry, under stress, or feeling ill. Even your mood can sharpen or dull your perception of scents. Your nose is a finely tuned instrument, always adapting. Smell also plays a hidden role in flavor. When you eat, molecules from the food travel from the back of your mouth up to your nose, a process called retronasal olfaction. That's why when you have a cold and your nose is congested, food seems flavorless. Your tongue alone can only sense 5 basic tastes: sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami. The rest, that's your nose doing most of the imaginative work. This is also why culinary experts, perfumers, and wine tasters spend years honing their sense of smell. They treat their noses with the same reverence a violinist gives to their instrument, because it's both science and art. But let's not ignore the more intense side of smell. Some scents comfort us: lavender, fresh laundry, chamomile. Others energize: coffee brewing, sizzling food, ocean air. And some, quite plainly, warn us: spoiled milk, sulfur, or the mustiness of something not quite right. Your brain has automatic reactions to many of these. Some are learned, but many are built-in survival mechanisms. Evolution has shaped our smell responses to help us avoid danger and stay socially aware. Speaking of social awareness, your nose may be picking up more than you think. Like many animals, humans emit small, often undetectable chemical messengers called pheromones. Though the science is still developing, evidence suggests that scent plays a role in social cues: attraction, bonding, even detecting someone's emotional state. You might not consciously realize it, but your nose is quietly collecting data, helping you navigate complex social situations with just a trace of scent. Of course, not everyone experiences smell the same way. Some people have anosmia, a complete absence of the sense of smell. Others experience hyperosmia, an extreme sensitivity to odors that can be overwhelming. And some deal with parosmia, where scents are distorted. Pleasant smells might seem foul, or familiar ones might suddenly become unrecognizable. The olfactory system is fragile and deeply connected to brain function. Small disruptions, illness, injury, or stress can cause noticeable changes in how things smell. Still, for most of us, smell is a constant presence in our lives. Not always loud, but always active. It's a quiet narrator telling stories that fade as quickly as they arrive. Because smell is fleeting. You can't hold on to it. You can't bottle a moment forever. The scent of a loved one's sweater. The smell of pine on a cold morning. The soft, dusty aroma of old books. These moments pass quickly, ghost-like, but leave behind lasting feelings. Smell isn't just one of your senses. It's a storyteller. A quiet messenger that speaks in soft notes carried on the wind. It whispers, "Remember this." So take another breath. Not just for your lungs, but for your mind. Because with every inhale, there's a history written in scent, a world of emotion and memory that you're decoding in real time. And your nose, that quiet, underestimated organ, has been there all along, watching, waiting, remembering. Picture biting into a warm, golden piece of toast. Crispy on the surface, soft in the middle, with a bit of melted butter that tastes oddly like comfort. Somehow, that single bite brings pleasure beyond the simple ingredients. This is your sense of taste at work, but it's more intricate than it first appears. Taste is far more than just detecting what's sweet or salty. It's a quiet teamwork between your tongue, your nose, your brain, and even touch and sound. All of these parts combine to form the complete experience we call flavor. Let's start with the most well-known part, your taste buds. Your tongue has anywhere from 2,000 to 8,000 of them. Each of these tiny structures houses 50 to 100 taste receptor cells, which are triggered by chemicals in the food you eat. When something lands on your tongue, molecules dissolve in saliva and attach to those receptors. This sets off a signal to your brain, flavor incoming. But that's only the beginning of the story. A common myth says different parts of your tongue detect different flavors, like sweet at the tip or bitter in the back. That's not accurate. All areas of your tongue can detect the 5 basic tastes, just in varying strengths. Those 5 tastes are sweet, nature's way of saying, "This has energy." Sweetness often indicates sugar, fruit, or honey, high-calorie food sources our ancestors relied on. That's why desserts are so irresistible. Your brain has been trained over generations to love them. Salty, essential for survival. Salt helps regulate fluids and keeps your muscles and nerves functioning properly. That craving for salty popcorn or potato chips. It's your body saying, "I need those electrolytes." Sour, a bit of a warning sign. Sourness can signal something is unripe or starting to spoil. But it's not always bad. Lemon juice, vinegar, or a splash of lime can be refreshing. Your taste buds know the difference between zesty and danger zone. Bitter. This one evolved as a defense system. Many toxic plants are bitter, so we naturally react with caution. But bitterness is also acquired. Coffee, dark chocolate, kale. These all hover on the bitter edge, and some people grow to adore them. It's a bit like making friends with a very moody cat. The reward is worth the effort. Umami, the newcomer on the list, umami was recognized only recently in scientific terms. Often described as savory, umami is triggered by glutamates, found in broths, mushrooms, aged cheese, tomatoes, soy sauce, and meats. It's what gives a bowl of soup its soul and makes Parmesan cheese feel like a religious experience. But these 5 tastes only scratch the surface. The full flavor experience isn't just about your tongue, it's largely about your nose. When you chew, scent molecules travel to the olfactory epithelium via the back of your throat. This is called retronasal olfaction, and it's why food seems bland when you have a cold. Your taste buds do some of the work, but your nose is the real flavor artist. There's also texture, the feel of the food in your mouth. Creamy, crunchy, gooey, fizzy. Your tongue and mouth are full of touch sensors that add a whole other layer to your dining experience. It's why soggy cereal is sad and a crispy apple is deeply satisfying. Temperature matters too. Warm foods often taste stronger because heat helps release more aromatic molecules. Think of cold pizza versus fresh out of the oven. It's the same food, but not the same flavor. Believe it or not, even sound influences flavor. Studies have shown that the sound of a crunch can make food seem fresher or more enjoyable. That's why commercials love to showcase someone biting into a chip up close. Your brain hears that crisp sound and assumes it tastes better. And there's more. Memory and expectation play major roles. If someone tells you a wine is expensive, it often tastes better, even if it's actually quite cheap. If your childhood comfort food was tomato soup and grilled cheese, it still brings reassurance today, even if your taste preferences have otherwise changed. Color also influences your taste. In experiments, people consistently rated pink drinks as sweeter, even when all the samples were chemically identical. Your brain, it seems, eats with its eyes first and isn't above making assumptions. Culture, too, shapes our tastes. What one region finds delicious, another might consider unusual or even unthinkable. Fermented fish, fried insects, blue cheese, all of these foods spark wildly different reactions depending on your upbringing. Taste isn't just about receptors. It's a combination of culture, experience, and storytelling. Then there are super tasters, people who have a much higher density of taste buds. They experience flavors more intensely, especially bitterness. For them, Brussels sprouts might taste harsh, and spicy foods may feel overwhelmingly hot. Roughly 1 in 4 people falls into this group, while others may have less sensitivity altogether. Speaking of spice, spiciness isn't actually a taste. It's pain. The heat from chili peppers comes from a molecule called capsaicin, which binds to receptors in your mouth meant to detect actual heat. Your brain gets tricked into thinking your tongue is on fire. It responds the way it would to a burn, sweating, faster heart rate, mild panic, and yet oddly enough people enjoy it. It's like skydiving for your taste buds, harmless but thrilling, a challenge your body weirdly craves. But taste isn't just about pleasure. It's part of your body's safety system. It helps you detect spoiled food, avoid toxic substances, and choose nourishing meals. It's also a way your body signals its needs, craving salt after a workout or sugar when you're running low on energy. Taste is personal. 2 people can eat the exact same dish and describe it completely differently. One might call it vibrant and bold, the other overpowering or unpleasant. That's the beauty of it. Taste is a conversation between your body and your mind, shaped by biology, history, mood, and memory. So the next time you bite into something wonderful, whether it's a gourmet meal or just your favorite toast with butter, pause for a second. Notice how it smells, how it feels, the temperature, the crunch, the memories it stirs up. That's not just eating. That's sensory poetry, and it's happening every day, quietly, effortlessly, beautifully. You are surrounded by a miracle, not a metaphorical one, though that might be true too, but a literal living masterpiece. Your skin. It's your largest organ, your very first layer of protection, your inbuilt thermometer, and the medium through which you physically connect with the world. Touch isn't just another sense. It's your most personal, immediate link to everything around you. Let's gently explore this. Your skin is filled with specialized nerve endings, each designed to detect a particular type of physical input: pressure, texture, vibration, stretch, warmth, cold, pain, even itch. Think of them like tiny informants reporting live updates to your brain every second of every day. These nerve endings are grouped into several major categories. Mechanoreceptors respond to pressure and vibration. They're the reason you can feel the softness of a blanket, the fizz of bubbles in soda, or the jab of a Lego brick under your foot, a particularly sharp betrayal. Thermoreceptors sense changes in heat and cold, and nociceptors are the ones that react to things that could hurt you: sharp edges, burns, pinches. There are also C-tactile afferents, a class of touch receptors that respond to slow, gentle contact, like the stroke of a loved one's hand or the brush of fabric. These are most closely tied to emotional comfort. That's the key with touch. It's not just functional, it's deeply emotional. Your skin doesn't just help you interact with the world, it helps you feel safe, seen, and grounded. Despite popular belief, your fingertips aren't the only sensitive area of your body, but they are among the most densely packed with touch receptors, about 2,500 per square centimeter. That's why you can read Braille with your fingers, or tell the difference between cotton and sandpaper in a single stroke. Your lips, face, and genitals also have high sensitivity. So do the bottoms of your feet, which explains why stepping onto cold tiles in the morning can feel like a full-body betrayal. Other parts, like your back or thighs, have fewer receptors and offer less detailed feedback. One thing that makes touch unique among the senses is that it's two-way. With sight or hearing, you receive information. With touch, you are both the one receiving and the one initiating. Every time you press your hand against something, you are both feeling and being felt. It's a quiet but intimate exchange. Touch is essential to human development. Infants who are gently held, cuddled, and caressed grow faster, sleep more soundly, and build stronger emotional bonds. It's one of the first senses to emerge before birth, and one of the last to fade with age. Before a baby can recognize a face, they can feel the warmth of a parent's skin. And even as adults, we still need that contact. A hug, a handshake, a pat on the back. These small gestures have enormous effects. One warm touch can lower your heart rate, reduce stress, and boost oxytocin, sometimes called the love hormone. During periods of isolation, people often say they miss touch more than conversation. We are quite literally wired to need contact. Touch isn't always pleasant, and that's part of its purpose. Pain is the body's warning system. It tells you when something is sharp, too hot, too cold, or just not quite right. It's what helps you avoid injury, back away from danger, or give a wound time to heal. There's also the strange sensation of itching, often triggered by mild irritants like insect bites, fuzzy sweaters, or random rogue hairs. Itch is urgent and deeply unsatisfying, and scratching it might actually make things worse. It's a peculiar game between your skin and your nervous system, playing a loop of, is this better? No. What about now? Touch also reveals some of the more curious features of your brain. For example, try to tickle yourself. It doesn't really work. That's because your brain can predict your own movements and suppress the response. The cerebellum, the part of your brain responsible for movement, knows what's coming. It filters out expected sensations to avoid overload. This is why you don't constantly notice the feel of your clothes or the pressure of your shoes. Your brain marks those signals as background noise and shifts its focus to anything new or unusual. This ability to filter input is essential. Otherwise, you'd be overwhelmed. Think of how many things your skin is detecting right now. The pressure of the chair you're sitting in, the temperature of the air, the gentle rustle of fabric against your body. You don't consciously register most of it because your brain is prioritizing. But not everyone's filters work the same. Some people are hypersensitive to touch. A light brush can feel overwhelming, even painful. This is common in certain neurological conditions, like autism spectrum disorders or sensory processing sensitivity. Others experience hyposensitivity, where more intense stimulation is needed to feel anything at all. There are also fascinating quirks, like the phenomenon of phantom touch, where someone who has lost a limb can still feel it, sometimes in vivid detail. Or the rubber hand illusion, a trick where a person begins to feel ownership over a fake hand, simply because it's stroked in sync with their real hand, which is hidden out of view. All of this points to a powerful truth. Your sense of touch isn't just in your skin, it's in your brain's internal map of your body. This map is constantly updated by experience and feedback, and that map is surprisingly flexible. Use a tool, a pen, a tennis racket, a spoon, and your brain quickly adapts to include it in your body's layout. That's how you can catch a ball with a glove or thread a needle without looking. For a moment, that object becomes part of you. In that way, touch extends beyond the skin. It includes the tools you use, the surfaces you interact with, and the people you share space with. It's how you stay oriented, connected, and embodied. So as you lie back and rest, feel the texture of your blanket, the coolness of the pillow beneath your cheek, the way your body relaxes into the mattress. That's your sense of touch, reminding you in a quiet way that you're present, you're safe, and the world in its own way is holding you back. Imagine yourself walking through a dim hallway. You reach for the light switch, but even before your hand makes contact, you know exactly where it is. You don't see it. You don't smell it. You're not thinking about it in words. Yet you reach and it's there. That's proprioception at work, your internal awareness of your body's position and motion in space. It's sometimes called the sixth sense, though there are more than five senses, and this one often gets left out of the spotlight. Proprioception is how you touch your nose with your eyes closed, or walk without watching your feet, or dance without watching your arms swing. It's your body's way of always knowing where its parts are in relation to one another. This hidden sense relies on stretch receptors in your muscles, joints, and tendons. These tiny sensors constantly send feedback to your brain about movement, tension, and position. Think of them like little engineers providing real-time updates. When you raise a hand, your brain doesn't just say, "Move arm." It gets confirmation. Arm is moving, elbow is bending, fingers are up. Your body is talking to itself, quietly and constantly, so that even complex actions can be fluid and effortless. Closely linked to proprioception is your vestibular system, the system that helps you stay balanced and oriented, especially when moving. This network lives in your inner ear, inside tiny, fluid-filled canals arranged at right angles to one another. When you tilt your head or spin, the fluid inside these semicircular canals moves, bending tiny hair cells that detect direction and speed. From this, your brain knows whether you're upright, lying down, moving forward, turning, or upside down. The otolith organs in your inner ear detect linear acceleration and gravity, like when you speed up in a car, jump into the air, or simply stand still. All of this combines to give your brain a full three-dimensional sense of balance and motion. But when the system is thrown off, like during a roller coaster, a fast elevator ride, or seasickness, it can be disorienting. That's because your eyes and inner ear might be sending conflicting messages to your brain. Your eyes say you're stationary in a cabin. Your vestibular system says you're rocking with the boat. Your brain, trying to make sense of this contradiction, often reacts by triggering nausea. It's a defense mechanism, one based on the fear that conflicting sensory signals mean something toxic has been ingested. There's also the opposite effect, sensory adaptation. Spend enough time spinning, and your vestibular system begins to adapt. The motion doesn't feel as intense. This is why figure skaters and astronauts train to reduce dizziness. Through repetition, their brains learn to tune out unhelpful input. Now let's shift from the body's internal map to its emotional dashboard, your interoception. Interoception is your brain's awareness of what's happening inside your body. It's how you know you're hungry, or full, or tired, or nervous. It helps you recognize when your heart is beating faster or when your breathing deepens. It's the sense that keeps you updated on your internal state. This sense is often subtle. You don't consciously track your blood pressure or hydration levels, but your brain does. And when something shifts too far in one direction, it alerts you. A dry mouth, a growling stomach, the need to yawn or stretch. Emotions are tightly connected to interoception. Think about the last time you felt anxious. Maybe your hands were cold, your chest was tight, your stomach churned. You didn't need anyone to tell you something was wrong, your body told you first. The feeling came before the words. This is why mindfulness practices, like deep breathing or body scans, can help calm anxiety. They tune your focus to internal cues, allowing your nervous system to recenter and soften. Some researchers believe that improving interoception, becoming more attuned to your internal cues, might help with emotional regulation, empathy, and overall mental well-being. Because if you understand what your body is saying, it becomes easier to respond with kindness and clarity. Let's not forget one of the most peculiar internal sensations, the chills. Whether it's from music, emotion, or cold, a shiver often brings goosebumps. This reflex goes back to our evolutionary roots. When animals fluff their fur, it makes them appear larger in the face of a threat or helps trap heat. Humans don't have enough body hair for that to work, but the signal still exists, echoing from our deep past. Some people even report feeling energy in their body during meditation or heightened emotion. While the science is still exploring these sensations, they may be another reflection of interoception, a heightened state of internal awareness that gives physical form to emotional states. Your body is constantly talking. Every breath, heartbeat, stomach flutter, and stretch of a muscle is a quiet signal. Most of the time, you don't notice. But that's not because they aren't happening. It's because your brain filters them so you can focus on the world around you. But when you do tune in, whether through stillness, rest, or reflection, you begin to realize just how alive the inside of your body really is. A vast, dynamic landscape of signals, rhythms, and responses. So tonight, as you settle deeper into relaxation, maybe let your awareness rest on something simple: the rise and fall of your chest, the weight of your arms, the quiet rhythm of your breathing, the gentle beat of your heart. These are not just bodily functions. They are conversations, ancient and constant, between your brain and your body, between who you are and what you feel. And even when your eyes close and the world fades, that conversation continues, quiet, persistent, and deeply, deeply you. You've likely heard it said that the brain is the most complex structure in the known universe. That may sound like an exaggeration, but even with all our technology and research, we've only just begun to understand its layers of depth and detail. The human brain contains around 86 billion neurons, each one capable of forming thousands of connections with other neurons. These links create a vast network of communication that allows everything you do to occur: thinking, feeling, dreaming, walking, remembering. It's all happening right now, silently and constantly. And perhaps the most incredible part, much of it happens without your conscious involvement. Take walking, for instance. You don't have to tell your feet to move in a specific pattern or calculate your balance as you shift your weight. Your brain does all of that automatically. It takes care of posture, muscle timing, breathing rhythm, and more, all while you chat, daydream, or scroll through your phone. The brain has many distinct regions, each with specialized functions. The cerebrum, the largest part, handles higher-level tasks like reasoning, perception, language, and voluntary motion. The cerebellum, smaller and located toward the back, manages coordination and fine motor skills. Then there's the brainstem, which regulates fundamental processes like heartbeat, breathing, digestion, and sleep. The outer layer of the cerebrum, called the cortex, is divided into four primary lobes: frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital. Each plays its role in shaping your experience. The frontal lobe helps with decision-making, planning, and controlling impulses. It's part of what makes you you: your personality, your goals, your ability to reflect and adapt. The parietal lobe helps process sensory information, such as touch, spatial awareness, and even understanding numbers and movement. The temporal lobe houses centers for hearing, language comprehension, and memory. This is where sounds become meaning and where memories are stored and recalled. The occipital lobe, at the back of your brain, processes visual input. Even though your eyes collect images, it's this part of the brain that translates photons into patterns, shapes, and recognition. But these areas don't operate in isolation. They're constantly communicating. A single action, like picking up a glass of water, involves dozens of regions talking to one another in milliseconds. And then there's neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change, adapt, and rewire itself based on experience. This is how you learn new skills, recover from injuries, or adapt after loss. The brain isn't static. It's more like a living sculpture, always being reshaped by the life you lead. When you repeat a behavior or practice something new, neurons fire together repeatedly. This strengthens the connection, just like a trail through grass gets more defined the more it's walked. Eventually, what was once difficult becomes second nature. That's plasticity in motion. This adaptability is one reason that habits form so powerfully. The brain prefers efficiency. If it notices you doing something repeatedly, it will automate it. That's useful for brushing teeth or driving a familiar route, but it can also entrench less helpful behaviors. Still, the same flexibility allows those habits to be reshaped over time, with patience and awareness. Another astonishing function of the brain is memory, but it's not as straightforward as recording a video. Your brain doesn't store memories like files in a cabinet. Instead, each memory is reconstructed when you recall it. Pieces are drawn from different parts of the brain, sounds from one place, emotions from another, visual elements from yet another, and woven together into a moment. This means your memories aren't perfect snapshots, they're stories, revised each time they're told. They can shift subtly over time, influenced by mood, new information, or even suggestion. That doesn't make them unreliable, just human, and incredibly powerful. A single memory can change your mood, alter your perspective, or even shape your identity. Emotions are closely tied to memory, thanks in part to the amygdala, a small almond-shaped region deep in the brain that helps you recognize danger, excitement, or joy. This is why emotional memories often feel more vivid, they're encoded more strongly. Then there's dreaming, one of the most mysterious functions of the brain. While we sleep, especially during the REM phase, the brain becomes highly active, even though the body remains still. Dreams might be a way for the brain to process information, test scenarios, or simply exercise creativity. They don't follow the logic of waking life, but they often carry emotional meaning. And sometimes, they provide insights or solutions that elude the conscious mind. Your brain even has a system for housekeeping during sleep. Recent studies suggest that during deep rest, the brain's glymphatic system clears out metabolic waste products, effectively cleaning your neural pathways. That's one reason why good sleep is so essential for focus, memory, and overall mental clarity. The brain also plays a vital role in empathy and social bonding. Specialized neurons called mirror neurons allow you to understand and reflect the emotions and actions of others. When you see someone smile, wince, or yawn, you might find yourself doing the same. Your brain is wired for connection. This empathetic wiring is what makes humans such deeply social beings. From early childhood, your brain tracks faces, tunes into voices, and learns the rules of interaction. You're built not just to survive, but to relate, communicate, and belong. Still, for all its wonders, the brain is not immune to struggle. It can experience trauma, imbalance, fatigue, and disorder. And just like any other part of the body, it needs care and attention. Mental health isn't separate from brain health, it's part of it. Practices like movement, proper sleep, social connection, creative expression, and rest help the brain function at its best. And just like a sore muscle can recover, so can a mind. So tonight, as you listen and reflect, consider what your brain has done for you today. It regulated your breathing and posture, processed thousands of sensory inputs, kept your heart beating, guided your choices, helped you express thoughts, recall memories, and maybe even imagine the future. All silently, all constantly, all for you. It's a story of quiet brilliance, one that continues even as your body rests. And as the sleepy narrator always reminds you, sometimes the most extraordinary things are the ones happening inside you, unnoticed every moment. Let's take a peaceful moment to explore something that doesn't shout for your attention but is working all the time behind the scenes: your breath. Breathing is something you do around 20,000 times a day, and yet you rarely think about it. It's automatic, managed by your autonomic nervous system, which handles all the life-sustaining tasks like heartbeat, digestion, and yes, inhaling and exhaling. But here's the remarkable part. You can also control it voluntarily. Unlike your liver or your kidneys, you can decide to slow your breathing, deepen it, hold it, or make it rhythmic. This dual nature makes breathing both reflexive and intentional, a bridge between body and mind. Let's start with the basics. Every time you breathe in, oxygen enters your lungs and travels into tiny sacs called alveoli. From there, it passes into your bloodstream, carried by hemoglobin in red blood cells, to be delivered to organs and tissues throughout your body. At the same time, carbon dioxide, a waste product from your cells, travels back to your lungs and is released when you exhale. This simple exchange of gases keeps your internal environment balanced and fuels everything you do, from blinking to running to dreaming. Even though this process happens so quietly, it has an enormous impact on how you feel. Shallow, rapid breathing, often linked with stress, sends a signal to the brain that you might be in danger, even if you're not. Meanwhile, slow, deep breathing signals safety and helps calm the nervous system. This is why breathwork has been part of so many spiritual, meditative, and healing traditions for thousands of years. Whether it's yoga, tai chi, prayer, or mindfulness, controlling the breath helps shift your state of being. When you slow your breath and pay attention to it, something changes. The rhythm brings your mind into the present, away from worries or distractions. You might begin to notice small details: the sound of air moving, the feeling of your chest rising, the way your body softens with each exhale. This moment, simple as it is, can become a sanctuary. There are different types of breathing techniques, each with unique effects. Box breathing, for instance, inhaling for 4 counts, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, holding again, can help regulate your nervous system. It's used by athletes, performers, and even those in high-pressure jobs like firefighting or the military. Alternate nostril breathing, often used in yogic practices, is believed to balance the two hemispheres of the brain and promote clarity and calm. Even a deep belly breath, where the abdomen expands with each inhale, can help engage the parasympathetic nervous system, which slows the heart rate and encourages relaxation. And the beauty is, you don't need equipment, special clothing, or a teacher. Your breath is always with you, always ready, always available. But breath isn't just physical, it's deeply connected to emotion. Think about it. When you're startled, you gasp. When you're angry, you may hold your breath. When you're nervous, your breath becomes short and fast. And when you're content, it slows. These patterns are part of your emotional language, even if you don't notice them. Changing your breath pattern can actually help shift your emotional state. It's like a conversation between your body and mind, where each side listens and responds. There's even emerging research into the connection between breath and attention. Studies show that conscious breathing can improve focus, enhance memory, and boost emotional regulation. In other words, the simple act of breathing with awareness can help you think more clearly and feel more balanced. Of course, breathing also plays a crucial role in speech and singing. The air from your lungs moves across the vocal cords, causing them to vibrate and produce sound. Fine adjustments in pressure, airflow, and mouth shape allow you to form words, express emotion, and even sing. In this way, your breath becomes your voice, a way of shaping your inner thoughts into something that can be shared. Without breath, language itself would be impossible. But let's go even deeper. Some traditions view the breath as something spiritual, a connection between the physical and the unseen. In many cultures, the word for breath is the same as the word for spirit or life force, like prana in Sanskrit or ruach in Hebrew. It makes sense, doesn't it? Your breath arrives with your first moment in the world and leaves with your last. It is a gentle thread tying you to the living world. There's a certain poetry in that. Every breath you take is a quiet reminder that you're alive, that your body is in motion, that your cells are being nourished, that life continues. And yet, most of us take it for granted until something interrupts it. A stuffy nose, a sudden fright, a sprint up the stairs. Then we remember how important breath really is. Some people live with conditions that affect breathing: asthma, anxiety, chronic lung disease. And for them, breath becomes something to manage, something to be grateful for, something precious. Whether your breath is effortless or something you have to work for, it is always valuable. Right now, as you rest, try paying attention to it. Feel the inhale, not forced, just rising gently. Then the exhale, longer, slower, melting tension as it flows out. No need to change anything. Just notice. The breath has no judgment, no demands. It doesn't rush. It simply supports you moment by moment. It carries oxygen, quiets your heart, grounds your body, and invites you back to this very instant. That's the magic of it. So as you drift towards sleep, you can return to the breath anytime. It's the anchor in your storm, the pause in your day, the space between thought and action. And through it all, the sleepy narrator is here to remind you. There is calm in every breath, safety in every exhale, and presence in every quiet inhale. You don't have to go anywhere. You're already home. Tonight, as we wrap up our journey, let's take a soft moment to consider something that often slips beneath our awareness, yet guides much of what we feel and experience: time. Not the hours on a clock or the calendar on the wall, but your internal sense of time, how it passes, stretches, shrinks, and sometimes seems to stand still. Time isn't just something you measure, it's something you feel. Think about how time seems to fly when you're doing something enjoyable. A dinner with close friends, a vacation day, a favorite song, it all seems to pass in a heartbeat. But in moments of boredom or discomfort, a slow meeting, waiting in line, lying awake at night, time can seem to crawl. Minutes stretch out. Seconds feel heavy. Your brain doesn't measure time like a stopwatch. Instead, it pieces together experiences, compares patterns, and makes educated guesses based on sensory input, attention, and memory. This is one reason routine can make time feel faster. When days are similar, same route, same tasks, same meals, they tend to blur. You look back and think, where did the week go? But new experiences, rich with detail, slow time down in your memory. This is why childhood feels longer. Your brain was encountering everything for the first time. Each day was full of novelty. That's also why travel, learning something new, or even switching up your routine can expand your sense of time. There are parts of your brain that help manage this complex perception. The suprachiasmatic nucleus, a tiny cluster of neurons in your hypothalamus, serves as your biological clock, syncing with light and darkness to regulate sleep and alertness. Then there's the basal ganglia and cerebellum, which help process short intervals, like tracking beats in music or estimating how long it's been since the toast went in. Your hippocampus is involved too, organizing the order of events and helping you place them within the story of your life. This means your experience of time is built from layers of input, not only sensory, but also emotional and situational. A moment that's highly emotional might feel like it lasts longer, even if it's just a few seconds. Adrenaline, fear, awe, joy, these all distort time. And then there are those quiet moments like this one, where time seems to loosen its grip, stretch out, soften. You aren't in a rush. There's no schedule, just the gentle hum of existence flowing moment by moment. When you're present, truly aware of what's happening in your body, your breath, your senses, time often feels fuller, deeper. Meditation and mindfulness don't stop time, but they help you inhabit it more completely. The truth is, your mind doesn't live in clock time. It lives in felt time, a tapestry woven from memory, focus, novelty, and emotion. And because of that, you have a small but powerful ability to influence how time feels. You can slow down by pausing, paying attention, savoring small moments. You can stretch time by doing new things, even small ones. Taking a different route home, trying a new recipe, listening to a new type of music. You can soften time by letting go of the need to fill every second with activity, by resting, by noticing your breath. You can make time richer by showing kindness, connecting with others, or creating something meaningful. And in those quiet spaces, like the one you're in now, time can become a companion instead of a pressure. So as you lie back, feeling the softness of the sheets, the rhythm of your breath, the stillness around you, know that you are held in a moment that needs nothing else. There is no rush, no countdown, no expectation, just now, this now. And even as thoughts come and go, as dreams begin to stir, as your body sinks deeper into the comfort of sleep, time will continue. Gently, patiently. And when morning comes, it will come in its own way, in its own time. But for now, you are free. Free to let go of the day. Free to rest. Free to simply be. And as always, the sleepy narrator is here with you, grateful for your company, wishing you a night full of calm and reminding you. There's wonder in your body, your senses, your breath, and even in the passage of time. And there is deep, quiet beauty in the act of simply closing your eyes and drifting off into rest.